welcome back to TLKInfamous. My name is Socially. We have a special guest in the house. We got Becca, Des, Corey. How y'all feeling?
We good. Oh, I'm good. I'm speaking for y'all.
We good.
As good as I can be.
Yeah.
As good as I can
Okay. Now, we have an interesting background because we all met through Truthworker. Now, I know Corey and Becca, you guys knew each other beforehand, before you joined Truthworker.
No, so technically,
Not this tea that I didn't know.
No.
So I joined the company in 2014. So at the time, I was working at Just Salad downtown. So I had this coworker, real cool dude. It was like a slow day. We talking, chopping it up, and he asked me what I wanted to do for a living, and I said, I want to be an actor. I'm in school right now, majoring in theater. So he said, "Oh, that's cool. I got a stepdaughter who is in a theater company, and she tours all over Brooklyn." So he gave me more information, and he asked me if I was interested. He'll give me the number, and she'll go more in depth about the company. So I said, "Cool." Now, mind you, I'm like a hair follicle away from not pulling through, because I was just like, sometimes I was just nervous about like actually stepping into things that I'm not aware of. So I was about to be like, I'm about to flake. But I said, you know what? It might be an opportunity for me to do something in life, and I ended up calling a number, and it happened to be Becca.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's how y'all met.
That's how we met. Yeah.
Okay,
She ended up going more in depth about the company. I said I was interested. She gave me the email to Samara to set up an audition. Got an audition within a week, and then Samara wrote to me the next day saying I was in the company. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how it started. And I met Des through Becca.
Yeah, because Destiny and I, we went to high school together. And then we got really close. We found out we ended up finding out we live in the same neighborhood. Just all that kind of stuff that really like started off our friendship. And then we got into like the summer. No, in high school we were in like internship kind of thing with BAM in Brooklyn. And then in the summertime when we got offered for this company to start, then we were just like, let's do it together. And then that's just, it went on from there from 2013. But yeah, when Corey came through, it was like, oh snap, there's another person. And then it was also always funny because when we would do little talkbacks at the end of the show, it will always get brought up, like how he ended up in the company afterwards. And I'll be like that's the universe just aligning. Like, what's the chances that you speak to my stepfather and then this has already started blossoming and then you get brought into a whole family. So that's cool.
I think that's the best word. That Truthworker was definitely family. And for people that don't know what Truthworker was, it's a theater company, a social justice-based hip-hop theater company for high school and college-age youth in Brooklyn. The director, Samara Gayev, is pretty much the person that curated those spaces and facilitated those type of plays. And I just want to recap, because I know you guys just shared a lot. So you guys was in high school and you guys participated in the BAM after school program originally.
So also to like kind of riff off of that, me and Rebecca, we were in AP classes together, and like one of the ways that we met Samara was like through our AP English, AP US History class. Shout out to Mr. Lewis and Mr. Honorath. So she would come into our class sessions and she would, have us write poetry. And, from that connection, she really made that like connection with Acorn. And then she started giving us different opportunities, and she kind of sought like Rebecca and I out and was just like, hey, what do you think about this? And yeah, we ended up being in BAM, and it was good.
Now, for all of you guys, did you guys all had to audition for Truthworker? Corey, did I come in before or after you?
You came in before me.
Before you, right?
Yeah, I think it was like a few months before me. Because I think after I joined, I think 3 other people, shout out Juliet too, she came after me. Yeah. And then 2 other people came, and then that was it. But I had to audition, yeah.
Okay, I remember auditioning as well. Being that you guys were kind of like the root of Truthworker, did you guys have to audition? Because I know she already worked with you guys, so she already knew your skill set.
Right. Yeah. So we didn't have to audition because she already knew us from that. So I would say she had to know us for about maybe
So, yeah,
2 years before we came into it. So it was like a blast email that had went out to students, I guess, who she was already working with. And so, yeah, she kind of already got a little taste of what we could do as far as like writing and stuff, even though I don't think that was a major determinant when she first started the company. I think it was like, you know, we're bringing a bunch of students, you know, brown, black students, we're bringing them in, and then they create these pieces that kind of like bare their soul, give information, tell their stories. We do like a one-time show, and then after that it's over. And I think she was just like, how can we like continue to provide a space, something continuous, something a little bit more stable, but also that doesn't feel like we're just shuffling people for like, you know, a financial gain or for like a scholarship, I mean, a grant or something like that. So yeah, that was cool. So we didn't audition, but you know, we kept it flowing.
I was gonna say, I will say too, like in working with Samara, learning her ways and stuff like that, I feel like for me and Rebecca particularly, it was kind of like we knew what to expect when she started the company, just a tad bit. Not like, I mean, obviously it ended up being something beautiful and it expanded far beyond like what I even thought that it would go. But I mean, like in terms of her mannerisms and things of that nature, because she is so heavily involved in the arts, in her art, having those experiences be exposed, like it was cool. It was cool.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to share in front of people because when we were in class and I would write something and I was like, I don't want to share, like choose other people.
Yeah, you guys are so shy. And like, it's so funny when you reflect back, you guys had like majority of the pieces, which is great. It shows the, you know, the progress of you guys getting out your shell and actually sharing your gifts that you guys both had. So that's awesome.
I will say too, I'm somebody who like, even in my regular life, I don't like to let people know that I sing. I don't necessarily like to let people know that like, you know, I wrote poetry. I just feel like, you know, those things happen and they come naturally. Like when I'm in spaces where I feel like that is what is needed. And I think at the time when I was in the company first, I kind of wanted to just see what everybody else could do, see how everybody else can blend. Before I essentially could be like, you know, here's where I could get in, where I fit in.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, that's beautiful. And when I think about the auditioning process, Odyssey, we actually was another member of the company. I met Odyssey through BAM after school program. So BAM is like a separate organization that works with after schools. And pretty much Odyssey told me, hey, there's a theater company. I think you should audition, because he knew I was interested in acting. I was also in a theater arts high school at that time. And so I auditioned and I was nervous because I was like, you know, so I just prepped something. And then what was pretty cool about the auditioning process is that you guys basically facilitate a regular event. You guys did the icebreakers. And so it wasn't like you just stand there and everybody watch. I actually was able to participate with some of the icebreakers that you guys have, or the warm-up sessions, which is pretty awesome. And then, you know, you guys are like watching me. But the auditioning process was pretty awesome, because one thing I really respected from Samara is that she gave us the liberty to evaluate, hey, does this person make sense for the company? And Corey, I don't remember your interview, but I believe your audition was very strong, because we knew that you was a strong actor right off the bat. The main person interview that the main person audition that I remember the most was Carnell. Because I don't know if you guys remember that auditioning process. His audition was more so movement, and so his piece was so eccentric, but I wasn't used to it, and so I was rolling. I was like weak, and then after he steps out for a moment, we give him a break, and we just evaluate. Hey, does this make sense? I was just so happy because I was laughing, but I think I appreciate the eccentricness, because we was like, you know what, like, he feels so comfortable to be vulnerable and show those movements. And so we kind of like made a point to like, okay, he makes sense to join the company. But what is your opinion? And is there any person's audition that you remember the most?
I will say, when I saw Corey, I said, this can we curse on here? I said, this motherfucker can act. That's it. Now, come on now. But I remember being like, wow, like I'm engulfed in like what he's saying. Like, I'm engulfed in the monologue. I'm engulfed in the piece. I'm engulfed in the things that like he potentially could bring to the table. So I remember being like, this motherfucker can act, and just being like, wow, like blown away. So,
well, again, like I don't think I seen any auditions after I joined. I don't remember if Julia had auditioned for us then, but I remember specifically I had to do the rapid fire whatchamacallit, improv. So Carnell Kyan, aka Kyan, he was one of my partners that I did like I think I went longer with him in the rapid fire movement. So what I loved most was just like everybody was so versatile in their acting. So when I came in, one being so nervous because I was stepping into social justice. So one, I was aware of situations in everyday life, but I didn't know if I had the means to share that with people of what I knew, because I felt like it was very minute. As coming into the theater company, everybody had something going on. And when I stepped in and everybody made me feel like I was where I belonged, and in the sense of everybody has the same goals and they were here to help me be a better actor and make me better aware of issues going on today. It just made it easier to just showcase my talents. Right. And for things that I lack, I knew my acting strengths could be something that would be valuable to the company. So I was very excited when Samara decided to be like, hey, you know, you're a part of the team now, part of the family. So it was just like going into a new phase in life of just being excited to learn more with the family that I have. So it was great.
And that leads us to the next question. You talked about what made you make that choice and join a theater company was pretty much strengthening your skill set and just being a part of this group. What kind of made you guys pull the trigger in terms of like, this makes the most sense for me?
I guess I could start. Yeah. So basically why we joined the company. Yeah, I think when I heard that it was about like social justice type of thing, I think that piqued the interest to me. Again, we were kind of already doing little projects that talked about small topics such as bullying and small hints of like identity and things that were happening in school and things like that. So it already had kind of like put an idea or a bug into your mind, and it's things that are happening around you, but you don't think like there's spaces for me to be able to speak about this stuff, let alone in such a creative way. Yeah. So when this came about, I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's see what's going on with this. And wait, hold up. My friend gonna be there and such is gonna be there, right? And so, and then coming in and seeing like the different nuances, I think that was what really brought it to. It's like, okay, there's gonna be people singing, dancing, stepping, again, just a multitude of things that draws you in. And then the energy seems great with who the director is as well. And it seems like it's supposed to really be about something. And then also I'm just like, well, who are we bringing? Is it from, is it from our communities, and how would it continue to grow? Yeah. So I think that's always been something that was in my mind of what can this put out into the world, and thinking of art as just a bigger thing. Like, how does art actually like affect us, affect the world, and make a change? I think that was something that I was wondering as well. Yeah, because back then, I think were we still in like a stage where people saw art as like, oh, it's just a hobby, not as like a viable living type of thing. And so, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's so true, because I really didn't see that many like works centered around injustice.
Yeah, not that I was familiar with.
It was mostly just expressive work, but not anything that would actually impact change personally, until I came around Truthworker. And then Samara, her network, she had a good network where people were already doing social injustice, creative expression. So we end up seeing plays as well that was centered around injustice as well. What about you, Des?
So I would say for me, one of my poems that I had wrote for BAM was actually about Trayvon Martin. And so I remember at that time meeting Samara, being immersed in learning more about what she does, the work that she does, and how that work actually tries to service the community. And just feeling myself as like being like a young Black woman and trying to figure out things with my identity. I just felt like this felt right at that time, right? An avenue for me to be able to express myself, but also just having art that really speaks to some of the reflections and the realities, right? And so, you know, talking more about the school to prison pipeline, talking more about certain injustices that people of color face, Black and brown people face. That stuff was really appealing to me. And I felt like having the outlet and the ability to use art to be able to express those feelings was just very strong for me. It just felt like it made sense.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of some of the work that you did, Truthworker had 3 plays that we guys all created, performed, and toured. The first one was Barcode, a performative analysis of the school to prison pipeline, which you mentioned. That was probably my first wake up call to how the school prison system prepares us for prison like life. And I think that for me, I was always reflective as a young kid, but I think we're all teenagers here where we have the opportunity to, you know, hang out, go to the park and stuff. But we was really dealing with tough topics. And I kind of felt like it also matured us a little bit more in terms of taking certain choices that we make seriously, because we can kind of see the impact of where they can lead. And then us growing up in the city and just seeing it when we're going to, you know, Truthworker and seeing certain things play out. I think Truthworker definitely made us a little more mature as well. The second play that we did was In Prison, Boxed In, Blacked Out in America. The original work examines the impacts and practices of solitary confinement in U.S. prison, tracing one man's remarkable capacity for liberation within the walls of death row, also known as Jarvis J. Masters, who is currently locked up for 35 plus years. And then we did a third play, Vision, A State of Emergence, which I think was definitely important because the first 2 plays, it was tough. It talked about the school to prison pipeline. It talked about people wrongfully accused and just the prison system in general. But The State of Emergence was really about a play where it talked about getting back on your 2 feet after having, you know, wrongdoings to you, and then how do you have that resilience to move forward. Any sentiments on any of those 3 plays? Any thoughts? Anything that come to mind when you reflect on the 3 plays that you guys did?
So me personally, I fucked with all 3 of our plays because we really had our creative mindset really putting into work, and we spent countless hours and time talking to family members, talking to people who have dealt with very intense trauma, that we've given them a safe space to share and allow us to feed off of that and be able to tell their story. And it's just showing the importance that we all had at that age, to where we were exposed to a lot more things, whether we had interviews, whether we was looking at articles that we had seen on social media about things that we were talking about. And I think one of the things that Truthworker had grown to really excel was that everybody, and I'll always say this too, like excluding me, I felt personally I was the one that had the least amount of stories or experiences of people within the school, within the prison pipeline, or people who have been incarcerated or anything like that. And everyone that I was around had either family members or friends who have dealt with that kind of trauma. So to be in that space and for them to share, and for them to also have their experiences shared with me, to where we could able to create stories to know that these are real situations that happen in the community. And some people can only see that viewpoint through performative art. Yeah. They won't see that regularly where they go. Mm-hmm. So it's important to know that all of these shows are not only to show to the masses, but these are our stories, because it's real life. These are works, dances, songs, raps curated by the members of the company. So that's why it's so original and organic. And for all three, and I remember the last one that we had with Vision, that was like one of the hardest ones because we spent like almost like what? I think damn near the whole summer trying to figure out what's this play gonna be about. Because we had two first bangers talking about introduction to the school to prison pipeline, Howard Masters, and then we speak about Jarvis, about his life, his adversities, how he's been in that space. So now it's like, okay, what's the last one that we have to take it home? And it's just like, well, we got to make something about re-entry into society. How does it feel to come back in after leaving the world one way, and now you're coming back to a whole completely different aspect of what the world is. So I think every single show that we had was just important in its own right to share stories and give a way of natural expression, and people can see it, feel, understand, share, and if it resonates with you, we know. Because every time we've performed it, somebody has cried, somebody has said, hey, I didn't know that I had these emotions harboring or festering these last couple of months, years, however, until I seen this play. So it's always a satisfaction of giving somebody just a little piece of, I would say, direction to know that we're healing with you and we got you.
Yeah.
So,
That's just a community too. I always felt like not only just Truthworker, but the people that actually came and actually watched the show, they was embedded in their community.
Yeah.
And so like, it just always felt like a safe space when he was performing. And we had students, classes that came to see. We had other director professionals from Broadway shows come see it. We had actors that came in and watched it. So that was honestly pretty liberating, you know?
It was. And what I want to say is, like, yeah, we were in Brooklyn, but we can't forget that we traveled as well.
Absolutely.
And we found ourselves in different environments there as well. So like being out in Ohio, going to college, showing out over there.
We was in prison, girl.
We went
that was my first time being over on tour was when we went to Ohio, when we did him and the cat, and we went to the men's prison.
Yes, and that was pretty dope. I think the juvenile detention in Baltimore.
Yeah, that was super important too.
So we've seen a lot of spaces like that, and I think those are really influential. And then when you meet like other young folks or people who are just like slightly younger than you, and they're also doing that work, and they find it like a great collaboration type of thing. And I just can't believe that we were like in those spaces a lot of times, because it's crazy. Like we came from being in Jack, shout out Jack, with the foil all over the place. We came from there.
Sold out shows at Jack, mind you.
Sold out shows.
Where it was like people came to us, but then we were like, no, we're gonna come to you. Like we come to you, and we want to be in your community, in your space. And again, I feel like just as powerful as the shows were, that conversation at the end was like, even I think it was so important to unpack with the soundscape, with some deep breaths, like all that kind of stuff to alleviate the room, especially when it was heavy topics. And just, I think, ground everybody into a further space. So it was not like, it almost like broke the fourth wall. Like we're no longer like, I hate to say like the performers in the audience, but now we're just in a space together. So I thought that was cool.
We had disclaimers, right, from when we would perform.
Disclaimers?
Yeah, for our second performance, did we?
I think in the beginning when we had like when Samara would go up and she would talk about what the show was about, I think she would say, just to let you know, like a lot of this work and the scenes and things that you will see is heavy, and that, you know, take care of yourself, right? If you need to walk out, you need to cry, you need to take that deep breath, you need to do whatever, then you can do that. So I do think there was like attention to that.
But I just say for overall, because after the end, like when she came together and when the show was over, we would have those talks and have those those circles and those one word answers that people can popcorn of just how they felt. So I think like that was just the overall, that's what made the show special too, because it wasn't just like you come in, you see the show and then you leave. There's definitely interaction before, during, after.
Interacting, people were like coming up to us afterwards being like, you know, you all were saying such powerful things, or even the shock of, you know, going back to the question earlier, like older people coming and being like, wow, like you all know so much and you're so young, right? Or like, I often think about the shows from the lens of my dad's perspective, right? Like they weren't talking about these things that were happening. I actually, some of my earliest memories are of visiting my brother in prison. And so just remembering and thinking about the shows and thinking about even my experiences going to visit him and like the ways in which like seeing how he was treated, I think back to how people would come to us after the shows and just be like, wow, like you all are not only doing such important work, but like having them ask themselves the questions, like how can they get more involved in the community? And like that to me, I felt was like so powerful. And I oftentimes, whenever I would invite people to the shows, just letting them know, like, it's not just the show, like you're going to learn something. And I wanted to also go off of something that Rebecca mentioned earlier about touring and things like that. One of the things that I remember is like us going to different schools. Do y'all remember when we went to Columbia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Met Angela Davis.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we like how Rebecca has a picture where Angela Davis, stuff like that. I'm like, wow, like for us at that age, right, to be holding so much and teaching and learning while our brains are also expanding and then doing that work, having those different avenues of performance. I just feel like each of the shows kind of evolved.
As we evolved.
As we learned and evolved.
Yeah, it was wild.
For sure.
I remember a guy stood up and I think he said he had just gotten released from prison. And I think he did maybe, sorry, I don't want to jack up his story, but it could have been about 10, 15 years or something. And he literally said he was just walking by and he saw our flyer outside, I think on a pole or in a restaurant or something like that. And he was like, what's this? And I think he liked the visuals. Shout out to, I think, Alexa. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to check this out. And he literally just like that came to the show. And he, at the end, when we were in the dialogue, he literally was crying. He was like, I was sitting here like, how did y'all know my story? How are y'all able to tell my story? I've never met these people before. Stuff like that is like, you know, like that's really eye-opening for a random guy that we, you know, is just in our audience is saying. Then it had times where I remember, again, like during we'll bring in people, brothers, people will go to their uncle, to their cousins and interview them and have them interact inside like the rehearsal to be able to ask questions and stuff. So it's like, it's not made up. It's like everybody here is genuinely being able to give a piece of something. And that's not only through the trauma, but through the laughter. Like, whose grandma are you portraying? Like, whose uncle, abuelo that's in the corner store that you're portraying, and it has everybody cracking up. And it's like the, you know, the meat and bones of our community. So I thought that was just really cool too. It's awesome.
That leads me to the next question. Do you believe that theater can actually create change or just spark conversation?
Art is political, right? And so I feel like when I think now with everything that is happening in the world, but even back then, the messages were there, right? I guess how people interact with art it depends on like how they feel at the moment. But like when I think about Truthworker in that space, in that time, I do think that art essentially can create change and start the conversations. I think that it is supposed to be a tool when you're telling the stories in the right way, in the empathetic way, in the caring way, to try to make sure that things are actually happening to make the betterment of people's lives. So I do think it can spark change. Even just thinking about some of the things that we were invited to talk at or perform at, they were a lot of like social justice type events. And those individuals were already having those conversations, or we were imploring people to do the work in their own communities. And I think that in itself like is powerful.
Was there any lesson, or was like any lesson or impact that is the most memorable or the most impactful to this day for each of you guys? Corey, you could start.
Most impactful. There's been quite a few. I can't really put my finger down on just like one specific moment. But I think one of the things that I've learned that really put my life into perspective on a lot of things is everywhere that I interact, whenever I have people who I speak to, even when we're having conversations, I always let people know it's a safe space. Because in general, I think that's so important as to knowing that we all have feelings and we all have ideas and situations that we want to project out, but it's not easy because, you know, there's certain things that people may or may not agree with, and they might not have the same interests as you and sorts. And if you address certain things, because they might not understand what you're talking about, they might downplay it a little bit, they might dismiss it. And even if somebody chooses not to understand, or if, like, for example, if somebody's explaining something to me that I'm not aware of or that I may not understand, I'm gonna still have the space for them to express that, because I might pick up something that will get me to be like, oh, okay, I understand this person a little bit more now, because they might be using language or certain dialogue that reflects to my own life and my own personal life. So I think just being more aware of how different people can be, but also be the same.
Yeah.
I think like just having the overall consensus of being aware and knowing that having the space to bring people together, and know that with that, and piggybacking off of what Des said, I feel like that could also institute in creating change, because it's got to start somewhere. So, and most things and most forms of change start with conversations. So it's really like, that's a small point that I could pinpoint what Truthworker has given me, that I could like express fully. It's a lot of things, but it's one of them.
I think for me too is like a lesson that I learned also in being in Truthworker, because it was beautiful in a lot of sense, and then there were some rocky moments as well. And something that I learned is, no matter your collective, no matter if you call yourself family, company, stuff like that, is to think about every day that you're dealing with other human beings who are living their own life in their own story. So I think when you're coming into that space, kind of like what Corey is saying, is really trying to see how can you navigate that all each and every day, because we started off as people coming out of high school young, until people kind of, you know, they're getting into their jobs, they all have their family situations and themselves, and it's like your friend today that you can joke on, tomorrow that joke is not so funny to them, right? And so how do you take care of that space so that way when we're going out into the world and you're trying to, you know, speak to other people about what it is to be community and stuff like that, that you're not being like hypocritical, because you're giving your same group and your family that same energy. So I think like that's a lesson that I learned too, is like take care of your collective, so that way you could walk in the same path that you're trying to show other people, you know. It's not just like, oh yeah, we're here, we're going to show you this, and then we go behind closed doors and energy is weird. So I think that's something beyond that Truthworker has taught me, you know.
I would say for me, I'm definitely torn between Angela Davis. Like, I'm sorry, like, honor the ancestors, right? And all the work that she has done. But I think one of the most impactful memories for me was when we spoke to Jarvis, right? And like, we were on the phone while he was telling his story. And I was just thinking about like reading his book, because I remember we had to read his book, but then I kept reading his book. And it felt like a continued conversation, you know, aside from the conversation that we were able to have on the phone, those few on times. And it just made me realize, like, I need to have more gratitude for some of the things in my life. And also recognizing, like, if I'm in a space to educate, like, that is my role to be able to uplift someone else. I believe that, you know, that is why education is very important. And I think him allowing us to tell pieces of his story while he is still incarcerated and trusting us with that, just gratitude, right? In the sense that, like, we were able to really speak to him to be able to, like, relay what it is that he wants to relate to the world. And I think that that is such a power in itself. And I think that that's a testament to the work that we have done as being a part of the company and the company itself.
And then I'll just further that. I know you kind of had transitioned out of the company, but just going even with that, you know, we got to go and meet him. We actually got to go to San Quentin. And so you can imagine what that's like, right? Like actually having to go through the process of, you know, entering this prison, being in the actual cell, right? Where, you know, there's limitations and there's only so much that, you know, y'all can like discuss or again, like interact with each other. But, and then also, you know, that guard is right there and, or a few guards are right there. And then, you know, there's the time limit. There's a time where everybody got to go. You got to come up out of here. Or in order for you to come in, that person has to leave or two people have to leave, right? And so you feel like it's just not enough time. But then you remember, like, at the end of the day, we all get to walk up out of here and, you know, he's still there. So definitely a lot of lessons in that. So true. Gratitude for real.
Jarvis J, he wrote a book, That Bird Has My Wings, which just spoke about, we all had to read it, a part of the theater company, and we actually based the second play off that book. But that book was very enlightening. I think it really made me think about how someone can be so free in a space that's so confined. And anytime that I'm going through a situation or situations that I feel like I'm never going to get out of or etc., I usually look up to the sky and I always just remember the name of the book, That Bird Has My Wings. And I just appreciate the simple things of just being able to look at the sky and just appreciate nature. And so I highly recommend, if anyone hasn't read that book, read it. I started reading that book with my nephew. Trial and error. I gotta get him to finish reading the chapters, but we were getting there. But I haven't read that book in years, and I was reading, and I was like, God, because the book talks about him in foster care and just his upbringings, and I was like, God, like it allows you to reflect on how certain events throughout your life can lead up to certain moments, and so it does allow you to have gratitude and just appreciate those moments and those sense of communities that we do get. Which is honestly, you know, a blessing in itself. Is there any particular memory that makes you smile the most?
Nah, I got way too many memories that make me laugh. Like,
Me too.
It's way too much.
Yeah.
When y'all kidnapped me in the middle of the night at Purchase, that was
fun.
crazy.
I wasn't there for that.
I know.
I wasn't around for that.
I was like, why are y'all here? Because I remember telling Samara, I was like, Samara, like, I got school, I got this. She didn't care about none of that.
Samara was gangster.
Yeah, pulled up. And I had finished my homework at that time. Like, I was, you know. But I was like, I don't know if I should go. And it was a beautiful conference to be a part of. And I just was like, you know, Samara is that director that's like, you might not know what's best for you in the moment, but I do. And like, but I do remember you all coming and snatching me up. That was hilarious. And Leah being like, where are we? Are we in the woods? Why are we upstate? I'm like, Leah, we are literally in Westchester. Like, it's okay.
Damn. I got a few. I got one where it's like, when we went to Wildfire and we were all like, huh?
Wildseed?
Wildseed. I said Wildfire. I don't know why I said Wildfire. But we went to Wildseed and everybody was chilling and like we was all like huddled up. And when we was looking up, we seen like a whole bunch of stars out in the sky. So I remember everybody was just meeting up and just like having that real bomb moment. Me and Cotton, endless amounts of jokes. Like, oh my goodness. It's like What's else the favorite one? Sheesh. It's like I have like 50 million, but then all of them don't want to pop up.
There's so many.
It's so many.
It's so many.
And then it's like on and off stage because there's so many like blooper type things that one can only think about when you're like performing, moving your own furniture. It's a lot, like your own stage props, changing costumes, like there's so many things that go into that.
Chains breaking in the middle of performances. Oh my goodness.
It can be crazy. And I don't know why this memory pops into my head, but I remember I think this was the same night we were like traveling, and then there was like a tornado. And what
I wasn't there for that either, but I remember that story.
I was there for that.
It was a tornado, and I forgot where we were going or coming from, but there was a tornado, and it was really bad.
I heard y'all was staying in some raggedy hotel with like a little
TV. And so we were like, bro, we can't get caught in this. So we ended up stopping somewhere in like, I don't know where in Pennsylvania, I think it was. And we ended up finding this hotel that was really, 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 really creepy. It was like really old and smelly, and it had to be a part of somebody's horror movie. But it was like the closest, safest thing, of course, right? Like the closest, safest thing is the one that's wild creepy. And we were just like, nobody stays alone, like nobody leaves each other, like stay in contact, because
I know one story.
It was really creepy.
Who was asking about breakfast at that hotel too? Somebody was asking about breakfast, and I was like, we need shelter.
Yeah, it was
priorities.
And maybe we was a little I was gonna say maybe we're a little bougie because we were used to being able to stay in like way better stuff, but no, it was creepy, but a fun memory because everybody was up, nobody was trying to go to sleep,
not at all.
I feel like the floors were creaking, and it was just really creepy. But
all right, so now I got like two. So one, this one is like funny, but not really funny because given the circumstances, it was really serious. So we was in DC, and it was one night, like I don't know, I guess we was just like having a good time, but we was wilding. So Samara, at one point, like we had to have a serious sit down. I don't think you was there, but we was.
Was I there?
You was there because we was out. This was the same year that we went to go to the Kennedy Center to perform.
Okay.
So I don't know what was going on, but everybody was just on hots. So Samara and Alexa had like a 3-hour conversation with us, just talking about the importance of like staying together and like what are y'all like trying to get our act right. But me and Cotton, the reason why it's funny is because me and Cotton is on the stairs laughing because
they were terrible together.
We was making like stupid noises, so it's just like we was just like what does it got to do with us? Because we was chilling. You know how I imagine when everybody, you know how like when everybody in the class be acting up and it's the two kids that just be chilling and not doing nothing. It's like, why am I in trouble? Because I didn't really do nothing.
Wait, can we talk about the lectures though? Like, they would give us lectures. I'm like, all right, wrap this up. Like,
I do remember one big lecture, and I won't go into detail, but I remember we sitting at a table, and someone made a joke. One of our 10-year members, he made a joke. That was a little bit inappropriate, but we didn't think too much of it. We just kids laughing, and the director took it to heart. And we had a whole lecture after that, and he was like, "Damn."
I know exactly what was said.
Yeah, and I was like, "Damn." I didn't think too much of it, but it goes back to exactly what you said. How sometimes we were just joking, like, and those moments of being on stage and just being teenagers and just living. There were certain times where we did hurt each other unintentionally as well, but it's still like. Funny.
When you look back on it, it's like, wow. But then, like, you know, when you're in the moment, it's like one of those things. It's just like it's a real teaching moment. Yeah. And then as you get older, it's just like, wow.
Especially like now, if you work with youth, and you're like, oh my goodness. Like I might have been you at that time, and I can see where it might be really funny to you or something, but how, like, if we're trying to be in a more professional setting, in a setting that is meant for all of us to show growth, then it's not too cool for you to be doing that. But I think that, sometimes it's interesting when you have a relationship with, again, like your castmates, but they're your friends / your family. Like, you're seeing each other on weekends. Y'all seeing each other after shows, after rehearsals. Y'all spending birthdays together, holidays together. And then you're coming to rehearsals and it's like, oh, you're messing up again. Just sing the note, right? It could be like really like that. But then also when you have your director who is like, yo, this is my dog, and I know, like, I could confide and stuff like that. But then at the same time, now it's time to buckle down, and it's like, bro, why you yelling? Like, well, not yelling, but like, why you mad at me? Like, was it?
It was like 12 in the morning. I think.
Yo, you remember? You remember one time we had a rehearsal for till 3 a.m. and we had an opening that same day.
And it was running it.
I gotta go back to Holly. I gotta go.
It's like 3:30. I'm like, Samara, I got an A train like 50 minutes away.
Now the dress rehearsal begins. Right. We did all that lighting.
We're not gonna do a full run. We're gonna do a dry run.
Yeah,
we're gonna do a dry run, and then we're gonna
stop and start.
Do transitions.
I think what you was going over is just boundaries. Because we were still working, because this is still, like you said, a professional environment. But then, like you said, we were celebrating each other. And just having those boundaries with a mentor, right? Say at least she was our director, but who's also cool. Like, you can tell her, like, listen, this is what I'm going through in my relationship. This is what I'm going through in my family. I need your advice. Because she was very young, still is. So she was able to connect to us. But it was like you said, having those boundaries in place. And I think that's one thing Truthworker taught me, that you can play around, but also kind of learn when you need to step back. But I just remember having certain situations with me and Zafar, me and him going at it. Because one thing that irked me was just like, we're here to play, but also like the way you show up affects the team. Yeah. And being that I got so close to you guys, we picked up on each other's energy. And I think that's one thing Truthworker taught us, is the emotional intelligence part. But knowing that when someone came in a bad day, you already kind of seen how it affected the team. And so sometimes it became, all right, we need to stop this session and just check in on this person. But also too, it's like, let's also be mindful of the purpose that we're here. Let's not be selfish, but also let's make sure that we're doing justice to what has to be said. And so those are certain lessons as well that I've learned throughout Truthworker, is that it was just a totality, just learning how to be human.
Yeah, I want to riff off of that a little bit, because I think, so at the time, especially that weird transition between college and going away and stuff like that, just taking some accountability for myself, my time management at that time, because I was younger. I also think that I was kind of going through some of my own, I have PCOS. And I think now, when I think back on some of my mood swings or how I was feeling in certain rehearsals, if I could take back some of the attitude, I would say that I kind of gave Samara at times, I would. Just because, I didn't know, right? I didn't know essentially or grasp the gravity of we're taking time out of the space that she's paying for, or we're taking time out of mic check, and not to say that I was the problem person, because I definitely wasn't, but but just thinking about those times where she would be genuinely frustrated, and some of us didn't pick up on that or understand why. And now that I am in those spaces and I'm on the other side and I work with kids, and I'm oh yeah, it's not just y'all time that you're using, it's also other people's time. I do want to kind of take some accountability there, and then also recognize that was definitely a learning curve in being in that, for sure. For sure.
I think you literally segue into the next question. Throughout your experience, was there anything you guys could have done differently? And so you mentioned you probably would have kept some certain things to yourself about being so vocal. What about you, Corey, Rebecca?
Shit, I could have definitely been on my phone a lot less. A lot less. That's one of the things where, because I probably definitely have some form of ADD, So it's like being able to focus for extensive periods of time, and even just like knowing that I got my mind focused on one thing, but then like I'm easily distracted to go do a whole bunch of different things. But I think like overall, I definitely feel a lot of leadership too in certain things, because I was the one that would take a back seat into a lot of things. And again, like maybe stepping up in certain ways that the company needed just so we could keep the pedals going. Because I was definitely not one to be signing up to do no grants, because I was not going to be the one to try to type and go into details about what we need. And if it's especially something that's funded, like, nah, you might have to find somebody that might have better vocabulary skills and could put together, like Danae. Shout out Danae. She was able to put together, what's it called again?
You could say like grant.
Yeah, grants. Yeah, grant
proposals.
That's what I meant. Grant proposals. So she was amazing at that. So it's like I had my niche of like what I knew I could do, to where if I tried to take myself a little bit more seriously, maybe because I didn't think anybody else was gonna take me seriously, because I don't take myself seriously sometimes. So it was like being more like, self-disciplined. A lot of things. That's why I try to focus on now, is being a lot more disciplined and knowing certain times and place for everything, which is why working with kids is like a big transition too. Cause now I don't tell them that I kind of was like you. I definitely was like them. So that's why it's like I could relate easier to being like, oh, you think this joke and so is funny? All right, let me flip it back. And then they be dumbfounded when they don't have the answers. So it's like now I'm literally seeing myself through the kids that I teach. So it's like being more consistent, disciplined, and having that off switch of knowing when it's time to go. Because I definitely knew when it was time to go, but sometimes I'd be like, I need a break. But then it's like to just go all the way through, because you'll see the rewards in that. So again, that's many things that Truthworker has countlessly given me in my life, of even knowing what to do on stage and then knowing how to maneuver outside of the stage. So yeah, that's one of the things that I probably would have worked on a little bit better. I think more discipline.
I think for me it would be, if I could have, because I don't know if I could have, but I think stepped into my confidence a little bit more. I think there was a lot of times where on the side or something I would write or like create things, and I was shy away from sharing it or really put it out there to contribute it to things. Maybe because I just felt like other people's stuff was more powerful. And then sometimes it would be like, no, share it. And then I would share it, and then it might end up being there. So I think if I could have just brought like more confidence into the space with my work, with when I had to contribute to things, I think that would have been a great thing personally for me and my growth as it continued, because I'm sure there was a lot of rehearsals where people were probably like annoyed with me and stuff like that, because it was just like, I don't want to do this. Well, why do I have to try to sing this note, like Bring Back Jahari?
Yeah, because you singing Black Note would have took us on a national tour.
Nah, I'm dead. But it was stuff like that. That was just like an interesting experience that I would say. And then if I go off of also what Corey said was, like opportunities to do grant proposals and stuff like that. Like there were legit opportunities to try to learn how to do it and get those resources. So I think it was offered a few times to people where it was like, if you want to learn how to do this lighting, let me know. And then we could try to see how we set this up. Or if you want to learn how to like do the grant writing, then come and kind of show. So maybe you won't end up doing like the final thing because it's going to be checked over. Yeah. But at least you get like an introduction to that kind of skill. And so it's like that. And then I think moving past it, when we were like finished with the shows and we were creating a new show, the 4th show, I was saying, and again, it's not always easy, but because time and when we're at this point, we're older adults and scheduling, work, children, families, like all this kind of stuff come into play. But so then it feels like I can't find the time. I can't find the energy to be here in this space doing what I know all of us love to do. And I think, how do you make time, right? Because everybody tries to say you make time for the things that you love, but also finding like that struggle in how am I balancing this after, you know, having a full day, a full week, and then thinking about how I'm going to show up again in my community. So I think those are ways to like continue to learn how to grow and things that might have changed.
Okay. I think you made like, that was something I reflected on too, what I could have done differently. I still debate this because I just feel like things happen for a reason and it leads you to the places that you need to be. I still am conflicted. I felt like maybe I should have stepped away too soon. I did debate it for time before I actually made the ultimate decision. But because obviously there was so many like beautiful moments and things that I've learned, but you know, I think also too, as we get older, I forgot that term, but where we romanticize the past so much. And so, you know, even early on, after 2 years I left, etc., because it's been maybe 10 years since we've been in the theater company. I'm exaggerating, maybe like 5 years or 7 years since I've been in the theater company. But I wish that I probably took more time. I don't remember all the memories that I have had. And so I do just appreciate the memories that I do remember. And so me wanting to wish that I've stayed in a little bit longer, just probably, it could be me romanticizing the past, but I feel like maybe I could have tried a little bit more to try to stay involved. I did a little bit towards the end, but it wasn't like enough.
You're not alone in that.
Yeah, so.
I also wish that I would have stayed. Now that I'm looking back on it, you're not alone in that at all. I think when I really realized how much it could have just been a healing experience for me, I was a senior in college, right? By the time I was like, dang, I wish that I still stayed. 'Cause at that point I started taking like Purchase had like a class where you took in the prisons. So I took a class in Bedford Hills, and like connecting with those women and like listening to their stories and stuff like that. It just really brought me back to that space. Yeah. As someone who stepped away a little bit early, I always made sure to know what y'all were doing. I would still come out to performances and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, like the work was so profound. But I wanted to validate you and feeling like you're not alone in that. I do wish that I would have stayed. I just felt like, oh, I'm in college. Like it's a hassle to get here. I'm being pulled in so many different directions. My dad actually told me today, he was like, you could say this now. Like I kind of convinced you, because, you know, just with everything, balancing school and everything, it just didn't feel like I could give that extra time to Truthworker. But I wish that I would have prioritized Truthworker.
Yeah, y'all left.
Yeah.
Too early. Nah. I think everybody I think people who transition, every time somebody left, it felt, I'm gonna keep it a buck, it almost felt like a little piece of me was being torn away, and I'm not even like joking. I was just like, wait, they left? Right? Like that's their energy, their whatever that they brought here, and now what are we supposed to do? And always next, like somebody came in and they had their own energy, and we were grateful. Yeah. It was another transition. It was another soul that came in. Some people lasted a day, right? I'm not gonna call no names. You know, some
again,
people,
I wasn't there for whoever lasted a day.
You know, we were going to be on the road, and
that was pre-Fletch.
Got left, or at the last minute said they had a different engagement and didn't come. But you know, whatever. So some, you know, transitions happened, and I think to some extent, even though it hurt and it was sad, it was like that was each of y'all's own journey. And I think it was always appreciative of like, well, she's coming to the show, or you pop out to a rehearsal, like just to come and check in or be a part of it, which I always thought was great. And it always felt like at any moment, if this person said they wanted to come back, they would likely be able to come back in. So it never felt too far off, or felt like, nah, this person is gone and that's forever and they're cut off and we're never going to speak again. And so, yeah, I mean, look at us in the same room right now, you know? So
I don't think anybody had, like, if you decided to leave the company for whatever reasons that may be, I think Samara always left a space to where if you decided that you wanted to come back and be back in the fold, the door is always open.
Depending.
Again, whoever that's dependent for,
Again,
don't
not
know.
me. Yeah, they gotta.
I don't know. So
My bad, y'all. I just,
so
we've been
it's
there.
like, I feel like whenever, like, if Leah was to come back, for example, and she was like, look, Samara, I think, like, I want to continue, right? I think Samara would definitely be like, let's bring in, because Leah was one of the strongest actors that we had in the company. So if you have that conversation at least, and then you have that fold, I think we was just like a family to be like, yeah, sure, like we missed you and glad that you are back and getting ready to work. So again, like, it just plays to where everybody was not, it's not just you walking in, you're dealing with people and then you leave. I think also dependent from the last questions, like, one of my fondest memories definitely was outside of rehearsals, because whenever we used to link up, whether it be Becca's crib or if we was going to events, chill, play dominoes, just bullshit. So it's like, those were really important, because it's like, yeah, like, I can't express, or I can't say it enough how much, like, Truthworker is family. And it's like, I've fought with him, I've laughed with him, cried with him. Like, it's just everything that you do to know that even from the people that leave, I still speak to those who are not around in the company anymore. And it's like, that's always going to be a strong bond, because when you deal with people who have seen you at your lowest, it's really hard for you to just be like, unless something happens to where both is mutual and it's just like, it's something that can never be salvaged, it'll be hard to just move on without somebody in that form. So that's one thing that I was grateful about. Like, anytime somebody wanted to come back or if somebody wanted to stop by, it was never animosity. It was like, yeah, come by for a few, see what's about. That's why shout out to JoJo, because she was just one of those as well. Because when I was in the company, it's still in school, so she was back and forth a part of the company. So whenever she would come back for a little bit, for a couple of weeks to do a show, it was always love, because it's just like, that was one of the biggest dynamics in the company as well. Everybody had their individuals and everybody had their own way of making Truthworkers so dynamic. So yeah, I think, like, it's how we set it up like that.
Yeah.
Low key. We set it up to make it like that.
I think we had like a strong alumni. As we reflect, and just now as we are living our life, you have a child. You are thriving in downtown Brooklyn. I ain't gonna tell everybody's addresses now. But what is some things that you guys have learned and have infused in your day-to-day life? I'll go first. Certain things that I've learned from Truthworker when it comes to just being vulnerable, I've really tried to get my family on that same page. My family's Caribbean, so they don't talk about stuff. They're opinionated, and so I try to do little soft moments. Hey, tell me. I'll ask them a random question. Hey, what is a memorable moment? Or I recently made a WhatsApp family chat for all my aunties and uncles, because we just don't talk as much unless we're in the same room. Yeah. But I'm trying to make those spaces, because it really just reminds me of the spaces that Truthworker had, where we're literally sitting in a circle and we're crying together. And I just think that's important now that everything is so digitized and social media. Everybody's stuck in. I think after COVID, it made such an impact on how people interact with each other, and just being expressive, but also having that control expressive, right? Because some people don't know how to manage their emotions because they just haven't had that ability. That was something that I've been trying to infuse and incorporate as I've gotten older, and as how I move through life. I just want to know, what are some things that you guys have taken away, and how does that affect your life now? I know that was a long question, but yeah.
Well, Thai food for one. Because I was not eating Thai food before Truthworker. I'm gonna keep it a bean. I'm like, I was not eating this. But pad Thai, definitely. No, in all honesty, in all seriousness, one of the things that I really think that I took from Truthworker that I still carry with me in this moment is just like the ability to show empathy, even when I don't feel like it. Because sometimes I'm like, yo, like, you really trying me. But it's just the ability to show empathy. Because I think one thing that I learned from Truthworker is, I think Corey said this earlier, like, Fletch said this earlier. So people really come to the table with their own stuff. And at the end of the day, it's sometimes messy. And there's no right or wrong way to go about things. And so just demonstrating that empathy and that patience for people as they're navigating their hardships is something that I think Samara was really good at doing. And even as a facilitator in the education field myself, I try to take that energy when I'm having certain conversations with my students, because she was really patient. And there was a lot of times where people were not giving her that grace that I think, you know, she does extend to people.
Yeah.
For sure. And then the other thing I would say is just, as the world there's a lot going on right now, social justice in general and knowing what is happening in the world, I don't think that ever left. I think if anything, it's made me more hyper vigilant, more hyper aware, and just trying to hold space again, that people are just experiencing their own hardships, for sure.
You could go first.
I don't know. I think I would say about taking space for yourself, taking time for yourself to think about like your own mental health, your own emotional stuff. Again, in the ways, because they would then impact the energy that you're putting out to the world and stuff like that. Like I would say, even if we talk about social media and the stuff that's out there, like it's times where I disconnect from all social media because I'm like, oh, that feels overwhelming. And then, you know, I just really try to take that time again. Like I have a 3-year-old now, so time is just timing. Right? It's like it's flying by. There's times I don't know what week we're in. As y'all know, it was like a month ago when we was trying to set this up, and I was telling y'all about the weather that's happening.
That's happening a month from now.
The next weekend.
Like crazy.
But in my defense, it will snow tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Let
Thanks,
y'all know.
Forecast.
But I was telling y'all about
I'm calling out
today.
in advance. Am I looking directly at the camera? I'm calling out in advance.
And that might be, you know, an example of taking time to take care of yourself, right? Because if not, then you forget the days of the week and, you know, you forget what month you're in. And then it becomes an overwhelming thing. So I think it's really trying to slow down, take care of that mental health stuff, be there for the people that surround you, and not to feel bad when you need to take steps back, because it can be just as empowering as you always like trying to be the leader. And yeah, I think that's super important.
One thing that as I said before, just creating a safe space for wherever I'm at, because I really think that's just something that people need. People really need to have a sense of feeling safety in what they're saying, because even if something could be like small as them talking about just what their day is like or how they're feeling, you should always give somebody a platform to just be vulnerable in a space, to know that they have somebody that's willing to support them, however that support or whatever that support looks like. And just being aware of how I feel, and even writing more, doing a lot of freelance writing. Like sometimes I remember we used to just do like freelance writing a couple of times just so we could get ideas of how we want the show to progress, or like if we want to gather ideas and we come up with something for a show. I start just jotting down how I feel a lot of the times. Some of it don't even have to make sense. It's just what I feel is in my mind. I'll just put it down on paper because eventually it'll make sense somewhere down the road. Mm-hmm. So just being more appreciative of the little things that matter. Because I used to think if something isn't like extravagant, it's not something that I could be blessed with. But I realized even one of the things too, like what kind of made me fully see like what the world has to offer was when we did the men's retreat back in 2019, probably before then. And it was like being out in the wilderness, no phones, no ways to be distracted. It's just you, your brethrens, and just having the same healing space and being warriors, and knowing that as men we carry a lot of trauma that speaks to the land, and it speaks to a lot of things that sometimes go unnoticed, sometimes is not taken seriously, not only from other people but from men as themselves. And I had a room, or I had a space of men who wanted to heal, who had no shame in their stories, and wanted to know that we all have scars and we all are going to bleed and we're all going to heal from this. So I think like that was something that made me understand the importance of what I've been doing for the last, at that time, 5 years. So, and to continue now doing that for 10 years is just giving myself back to however I can. That's why Truthworker is something that it's easy to romanticize the past, and that's it for me, because I feel like I can never let it go. Right. Even if Truthworker was to be on his last flame and still dying out, it's like, nah, I gotta find like a lighter to light this shit.
Thank you. I think that's the best way we can end this. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Last words. It's a little brief. Keep it quick because we got time. All right, I'm gonna start. Is there any final things that you want the world to know? I know you are flourishing in skits. Do you want to share your Instagram?
You can follow me at Grandmaster. No, actually, that's the wrong one. That's the old one. Fletch Mayo. You can follow me on my Instagram. I do my comedy skits. Shout out to everybody from Truthworker. Shout out to the podcast. And shout out to all the believers and everybody who wants to make a difference and change in life. I'll support you all the way. Beautiful.
Becca. Sorry, I'm looking at Destiny. I'm like, Becca, Destiny.
Well, Becca could go.
You're right there. Just go circle, girl.
So I'm trying to get back into my art. I do eventually want to create my cover Instagram. So when that happens, it'll happen. But shout out to the people who are still writing, the people who are on Instagram that are connected with me from Truthworker. I still hold y'all heavy in my heart. I still watch all of the stories, interact, and, just thank you so much for like being a part of my journey, in terms of just touching me and really sticking with me in terms of us growing up, during that time frame. So, yeah.
Same. I just want to say I love all my Truthworker people. No matter how long you were there, and still are here, you mean something, you are something. I think that is still so much like power in everything that you're doing. And I'm always going to be a part of you, whether you are fully engaged in the arts and social justice or not. And if you're still just going through your typical day. And I want to say, make sure you're taking care of your mental health, taking care of your body, and trying to take every day at a time to be more about you and your growth. And in that, you will be able to give to your community as wholly as possible. Full, not wholly, just in case. Yeah, whatever.
And start drinking more water too. because that's
drink your water.
Lift some weights.
Hydrate.
Here y'all go.
whichever
Right.
choice of water that you drink, except for Dasani.
Right. Oh,
Eat your
terrible.
vegetables though, y'all.
Yes.
Yeah,
Too
eat your
many
vegetables
adults
too.
out here who don't eat veggies.
And lift. You know, make sure that y'all lift.
And most importantly, say your prayers.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, say your prayers,
Please.
y'all.
Thank you guys. And if you guys haven't, please subscribe to TLK Infamous. You can either subscribe, follow our Instagram, and all that.